everyone, and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable series. And as ever, I've got an amazing guest for you. So, Sam, would you like to introduce yourself, my darling?
Hi, everybody. My name's Sam. I'm a middle-aged mum of teenagers. I'm a nurse full-time. I look after dialysis patients, but I've been a nurse for 26 years. I'm a manager of a team of about 30 to 40 people in my day job, and I have retrained recently as a life coach to try and support women like me, predominantly middle-aged women, or military wives is an area of interest that I've got, actually.
Amazing. And we'll get stuck into that in a little bit. So anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Julie Fitzpatrick, and I'm the founder of Millieside Therapy and Coaching. And really, my passion is supporting out stressed individuals, really, who are really lacking in confidence and really need to get their mojo back. And my mission is to make them truly unstoppable. So that's what I do. So at the end of this recording, we'll obviously give you all our details of how you can contact both of us. So I hope you enjoy this. So carry on listening. And I'm really interested to find out about this military wives element, because I think that is so cool. But before we get into this interview, Sam, I need to ask you my very famous question. So what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Well, I think being unstoppable is really a state of mind. It's not an action. It's not measurable by anybody on the outside. It's knowing it's a mindset. It's when you've got something that makes you a certain way, usually uncomfortable, usually a bit scared, and you do it anyway. So feel the fear, do it anyway. And it can be something really, really small. It doesn't have to be like scaling Everest or doing the marathon. I think it's the marathon in London this weekend.
I think it is, yeah.
It's something as simple as, right, I'm going to go to the cinema on my own. I think even small things like that. And so to me, being unstoppable is a feeling, and it's the response to whether it's emotion of fear or whatever, and it's going, do you know what, I do feel like that, but I'm going to do it anyway, regardless. And it's very much like internal. I get a little kick out of doing things that scare me, to be honest. And I think that makes me feel unstoppable when I think, right, I'm going to do this today, and it scares me, but well, what's the worst that can happen?
I love that. I really like that. And actually, when we are not pushing ourselves and feeling a little bit uncomfortable, it probably means we're not living our life, really, doesn't it? Because when we get too comfortable in the comfort zone, then we are not going to achieve too much in our lives because we're not pushing ourselves. So
I think a lot of it's to do with worrying about what other people think about you, feeling like you're worried about being judged by your actions. But I think often people who are pushing themselves don't judge you because they know how it feels to push yourself, and it's the ones who are sitting in that safe comfort zone that may judge you, but that said more about them to me than it says about you.
Yes, absolutely. Even people, well, we hope people will watch this, right? But sure, there'll be people who will watch it and go, who do they think they are sitting on there? What do they know? What are they talking about? But if they are, like you say, we don't care, because they're not the people we're trying to talk to. We're just two middle-aged women who are pushing ourselves. And I don't mind saying my age. I'm like 55. I didn't start my job in my business career till I was 52. I spent 35 years in the corporate world, right? So I like to say to people, it doesn't matter, does it, right? But I decided that it was a time was right. Well, actually, that decision was taken out of my hands a little bit, if you know what I'm saying, in the middle of the pandemic, which was nice. But do you know what? It's the best thing that ever happened, because it gave me the kick.
Pandemic had a massive impact on a lot of people, I think, and it certainly sort of pushed me as well into just not settling for what I already had and the expectations that I felt that society had on me, to be honest.
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah, let's get into that a little bit, Sam, actually. So you're, as you said in the intro, you're a nurse manager, you're a coach, you're a mum. You know, I can't believe you're saying that you're a midlife lady because you look very young to me, but you're claimed, right? But
yeah, 47.
Now, obviously, the pandemic would have been really tough in your nursing world, but and by all means, talk about that in a moment. But what made you decide that you wanted to get into the coaching world then? What was your driver for that?
So it's a funny little journey that I've had, and I don't know about yourself, but you sometimes end up in a place where you're not sure how you got here, but it feels really right. So obviously, I've been a nurse and helped people. 26 years of doing that, and I absolutely love being a nurse. It's at my core, and I will never walk away from that. I get an awful lot from that, and it fills my cups. If I go to the hospital and spend a day there, which is not my management job, but I spend the day with the people who are feeling at their worst, or they're getting the worst news or the best news, to be part of that is an absolute honour and privilege to me, and it will always be part of my life. But I felt like I've also got a lot of life experience that I can help people with. And I know everybody's got very busy and colourful lives that they can draw upon. But I thought that the combination of the two, the people skills, the communicating with all sorts of walks of life, and my life experience came together to kind of support that within me. So I can help people on a different level than kind of healthcare. I think in terms of the unstoppability, I would never, I've come on a journey from being really, really shy, really introverted back, when I was a child. I was really sort of mute at school, learning, I struggled to learn, mainly to do with being painfully scared of being myself, I think, or being shy. I mean, even moving then on to my first job, I was an office junior. I don't know how I even got that job because I would have had to speak to people. But I was meant to be answering the phones, and it took me a month to answer the phone because I was too scared. And then life sort of carried on, and I ended up training as a nurse, and it really suited me. And then I kind of got to the point where I started on this pushing my boundaries journey, to the point of, I think just before the 9/11, the Twin Towers went down, and I was planning a trip to go to Singapore to see my best friend. And I was like, I can't do it. I was terrified anyway. The Twin Towers went down. The whole world was in chaos. And she said, come anyway. And I was like, everyone's telling me, no, it's dangerous. Don't do it. And she said, well, when you're in a bubble in another country, we haven't got streaming news. We haven't got that fear. Just do it. And I got on that plane, and I was terrified, and I did it. I was so pleased with myself. And that marked this journey of kind of pushing slowly, big things to me. They were massive things. They might just be small things to other people, but to me, they were massive. And I did that. And then I came back, and I met somebody who, now my ex-husband, but we met, and full circle. Yeah, and then so I was a nurse. I met this guy. It was like this, and he was in the army, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to see the world. This is going to be the thing. And actually, what I ended up doing was dialing back down to the person I was before. Eventually, nothing to do with him. It wasn't his fault. And it wasn't my fault. It was a time and a place. And the expectations of a military wife are very, even now, still quite traditional. You kind of fit. Everybody judge you. You're judged on your husband's job, their rank, where your children go to school, you at home. And I kind of always felt not enough, and dial myself back down to feeling really, really, really underconfident, and stopped doing anything. Didn't know myself anymore. So I'd sort of come from nothing, built myself up, and then put myself back into that zone. Yeah. It's really hard. And then the pandemic helped me, because I at the point, I didn't know who I was. I didn't even look in the mirror, let alone know who I was when I looked in the mirror. But then I applied for just a really small job in like surveillance of the virus, so swabs and things like that. because I really just, professionally, personally, I became a mum in that time as well, and suffered with postnatal depression and all of this, the usual thing that women go through. Moved house every couple of years, did all those things, rebuilt every couple of years, pushed myself out there, felt uncomfortable, but in a really low level, not positive way. I was depressed, really badly depressed. Anxiety kicked in. And then, so the people on the other end of the CV that I sent in saw something in me that I was not seeing in myself at that time, and they phoned me and said, "Yeah, you can have that job. That's fine. You've got loads of experience in that sort of area. We're not concerned, but we've got this regional trainer job for this new service that we've just acquired, and we want you to interview for that." So I interviewed, got that. Never thought I was going to be able to do. And then I was promoted to regional manager not long after that. And, they saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. And that, again, triggered me off to think, actually, there's more out there for me. And so, I kind of left the marriage, started again, and that was kind of my rebirth, really.
Oh.
Yeah. Now I do all sorts of random things.
So you really are the definition of unstoppable then, aren't you?
Yeah. If it's scary, just let me at it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because as you've obviously been working on yourself as well, when you train to be a coach or something like therapist, or you have to go through an element of
massively,
don't you? Like even to actually learn how to speak to other people, you have to you practice on each other, don't you? And then all sorts of stuff comes up, and it's been the same for me. Like I'm still in a therapy journey still, because I trained as a counsellor years ago, but I never really did it as a job because I stayed in the corporate world because that's where the money was, if I'm honest. But then when I started again in 2020, I did go back to work though, because I still needed to work, but I started to train on how to build a business at the same time as learning. I did my NLP, Master NLP. Then I found my recipe, Rapid Transformational Therapy. But then the Rise and Shine Academy that I'm in now with Philippa and Bertie, they're my therapy coaches. So, but in that way, we learn to uncover our stuff, but at the same time, we get to do that with our clients as well. So we get all the tools and techniques. And I just love learning. I don't know about you. I mean, your journey is pretty similar your journey isn't similar to me, but I lacked in confidence as well, and that just holds you back, doesn't it? And I think that's the same for so many people out there. That I mean, you will know this from all the stuff you've done, but many people don't. That we create our belief systems when we're between 0 and 7 years of age, don't we? And I had the belief that I wasn't good enough, and you mentioned that phrase as well. So yours was that, or maybe who knows? But there's always something else sort of to uncover.
And I've actually done some of the rapid. What's it called? Rapid
transformational therapy.
Yeah, I've had some sessions of that, and I found it really interesting. And I've done some recently with some NLP work, and I go back to that same little girl who she sits, she's got no voice, she's scared of everything and feels alone. Whereas I think right now, I feel like even if I am alone on my own, that doesn't matter to me. Like I'm all right. I'll be successful because I've got me. And being a military wife has the positivity of that is I've met lots of people. I've had to rebuild, and I've had to be self-reliant because not through anybody's fault they're away. So you end up being a single mum where you're not a single mum. You have to move, find new schools, do all the things, network, even though maybe that's not networking in a business sense, it's certainly networking in a social sense every 2 years. So that brings with it lots and lots and lots of strengths. If you frame it correctly. If you think, oh gosh, I've got to pick up and go again. Well, actually, if you reframe that and say, what opportunities, what is this giving you? What strengths is it giving you? Then you become unstoppable. You absolutely do.
Yeah, because we've all got skill sets, right? Like you say, even anyone, in particular a woman, say, who's dedicated her life today to bringing up the children, right? Because that is a job. It's a very important job. Many people, when the kids start getting a bit older and they get a little bit of empty nest syndrome and things like that, they think that they haven't got anything to offer, but that's not true, is it? Because what skills, even getting organized. I mean, we know what it's like with the schools. You always get thrown 5 minutes time. Oh, what do you mean I need to get a costume together? Or like, well, you never told me you had cookery. Where's all the, you spend your whole time, don't you, with the kids, like having to do all this stuff, get them here, get them there, drop them off there. And if you've got more than one child, it's even, especially if you've got one that maybe is at football and dancing, and it's a whole job in itself, isn't it? Just coordinating it. So don't ever think that you don't have the skills, because you got so many skills.
I think what's important when you're going through that transition of being a new mum, or one that's my children now are 14 and 16, so they need me but don't need me in equal measures, and drive me insane. But you have to be available to them, but not around them.
It's embarrassing, right?
But doing these sorts of things is just like I'm trying to wind them up. But I think it's really important to know yourself in that and give yourself the time. And that's what I do with my clients, is I sit down and say, what is important to you? Like what, for not your husband, not your children, not anybody else. What's important to you, and do your people around you know what's important to you? Because they might think you're happy with being at home and never having, whatever it is that you want, what you desire in your life. But if you don't know yourself, they are never going to know. So it's about kind of sitting with yourself and going, right, if I'm honest, I've got a house, bought myself a lovely house for my children. It's not what I want. I know that it's not what I want. I want the freedom to travel, but my children need me to be in a stable home for them for now.
Yes,
and I know that, and I can accept that for now. This is what I need to do in care for my children properly. I would happily sell it and go in, get in a van and never look back. But it's knowing that that's what I want, and I'm not believing that I have to buy a house because that's what society deems that is for me. And I think that's really important. And for a long time, I lived in that way of, oh well, you can't do that, and you shouldn't do that, and you've got to drive this car, and literally, what dog have you got? That says a lot about you in your military.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it is a community, isn't it? I suppose in a good and a bad. Bad way, really.
Absolutely. I've come into got amazing friends. I've done some amazing things, and it's resulting in some amazing skills and attributes, which I want to share with, I know that there's a lot of pain out there as well. There's a lot of women sitting there with a lot of unhappiness, and a lot of them have journeyed through it. Some have left it, but I think if you can help support people to understand why they're feeling this way and what's important to them, and how to get that across, and make some goals which are achievable within the confines of realms of control almost, then that's got to help people get into a better mindset about what they've got. Like I said before, I felt like I was worth nothing. Nobody would employ me, and I was the same person then as I am now. I had the same experience. I was an intensive care nurse. I had worked as manager, I had worked as sales rep. I've done all of those things, but in that mindset, I was worth nothing to anybody.
And what changed was the fact that you had work. You did work on yourself, in going into your subconscious mind and changing those beliefs. But what happens is, like you said, you see that little girl the same as me. My image is always this little girl in the playground, and it's our inner child, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we have to go and nurture that. We have to go. I mean, we can do a lot on our own. Don't get me wrong. I teach my clients so many conscious coaching tools, like how to engage, do some breathing when you're feeling a little bit anxious, different ways that you can challenge the thoughts and feelings that are going on in your head, different embodiment techniques. But the core of the change comes from subconscious mind, because the mind will only listen to what you tell it, right? But the subconscious mind will always win. So you can consciously say to yourself, oh, do you know what? I'm bloody amazing. But when you stop consciously thinking about it and your subconscious goes, no, you're not.
No.
You're stupid. It's always going to win. So we have to make sure that the conscious and the subconscious are aligned. And that's when you need to help, engage in help then, isn't it? To really help you get to the root cause of what's causing.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a difference to me between coaching and, say, counselling or therapy, because I think counselling is very much about why you feel like, digging into the past to find out where you are. And I think coaching is a lot more saying, do you know what, I'm here, I'm not that happy, I want to be here, and how can I help you get there? It's like it's a look forward rather than looking. I've had therapy.
I know what you mean.
I went to an amazing therapist, and we sat there, and I said, yeah, but I should be happy. And she said, what do you mean should? According to who? And asked me those questions like, will people judge? She's like, who's people? Who are people? Like, who are you talking about? Who are these people? Who said you should? So changing the way you look at the scenario and saying, actually, no, I'm an actual adult woman. I can do what I like. And I will do what I like.
Absolutely. And that's why I love the way I can work with them as well, because I can actually go back and fix the subconscious, and I can do, like you said, the coaching as well. So you kind of get double bubble, really, I suppose. But and that's what's so amazing. It's so powerful.
It worked an absolute treat for me. Really, really did. And very subtly, like you almost start changing your beliefs, your underlying beliefs, without knowing it's happening. You suddenly, possibilities seem possible. And you think,
and you do things, don't you?
What said to me when I was actually half asleep. So but I'm changing. You feel the change, but it's not in your face, if you know what I mean. It's very
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've say like someone said, I can't walk out my front door, right? I can't step out the front door, and then you do the session, then they can walk out the front door, then you get that straight away, right? But a lot of people, if it's confidence and things like that, you have to go and road test it, don't you? Because you're not always putting yourself in a confidence situation. So what I do, and it makes me laugh, because I do conscious coaching, and then we do the deep dive stuff. We get that subconscious changes done, then we go back to conscious coaching, right? And then we go, right, okay, so you had your session, however many weeks ago. How do you feel? Yeah, I don't really feel any different. Oh, okay. So let's just go through the form then. Okay, so before you said that, and you said that you could, and I had one client once, right? She was trying to build a business. I can't remember. It was her thing was she wanted to work on procrastination and things like that. I'll do anything but work on my business and right? So we did the session. And then when we had that conversation, before we even started officially the conversation, she went, oh my God, I've been so busy because I've done this on my business and I've done this. Right, let's get on with the session then. Okay, so no, nothing's changed. And I went, we just spent 10 minutes. And she went, oh my God.
And I've had to change that in myself, because I see myself as this shy, small person. But I look at what I've done, a lot of my team would think I was this 3-year-old kid who couldn't go into a nursery, or because they were scared, who couldn't go up to the front of the class and speak to the teacher, or couldn't read out. And I was like, I'm like this all day long with them. And in my hobbies and things like that, I push, but in my head, I have to go, oh, that's just ridiculous, because the evidence is to the contrary of that belief. Like, I am not that small little girl. I'm all the things and more. I'm not. I don't sit. There's nothing wrong with sitting watching TV, but I'm always doing, thinking, pushing myself. I'm not sitting watching somebody living their life in the East End of London, because I don't feel that that's progressive for me. A lot of people do that. I know that. I'm not criticizing whatever floats your boat, but I'd rather do something else.
And it's interesting. You just triggered a thought for me, right? So fear, right, is at the crux of all of this. So anxiety, stress, overwhelm, fear of failure, fear of success,
Fear of judging,
fear of everything, right? But fear, if you spell out fear, it's false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
Right?
And that what you just explained about the lady who said she was still procrastinating and she wasn't doing anything, and she was believing that belief that's how she was, but the evidence was to the contrary.
That's right, because it was an old habit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Her whole habit, her whole blueprint was,
yeah.
And this is the thing. I used to just do the deep dive stuff, and then gradually I've integrated the coaching, because you can get that deep result and you can get an instant result. I mean, I've helped someone walk again. I've helped someone get rid of their arthritis. So it really impact physical conditions as well, right? But the obvious ones are lack of confidence, stress, overwhelm, anxiety. And they mainly go back to childhood, between 0 and 7 mainly. Sometimes it's a little bit later. More often than not, they will have a childhood scene in the classroom where they were made to stand up to read, and they were so embarrassed, everyone was laughing at them, or they weed themselves or something, because that's what a lot of young kids do, right? And that's that's stored. That's a stored memory in their filing cabinet of their body, because our mind, body is all connected, whether we like it or not. And this is the bit that most of us don't understand, right? And it's stored. So every time that they get in a situation, like for example, if that was you and you were like, oh my God, I'm going to do this interview today, that's not you now. That would have been this little 5-year-old who weed herself in front of the teacher, and that memory is coming back, and it's giving you that physical reaction, because that's a stored memory, right? So you're like, oh God, I can't do it.
This is not my comfort zone at all. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this today is this is absolutely not my comfort zone, and that's why I want, it pushes me towards it rather than backing off. In the past, I would have absolutely said, "Oh, sorry, Jill, I can't do it today," and not feeling very well. We had a lot of technical glitches setting up this one. That would have been a perfect opportunity for me to go, but let's do it another time. But I said to you, didn't I? I said, we're doing like
whatever happens, we're doing it. I said, don't worry, if this tech doesn't work, we've got other tech we can use. Don't worry, we're doing this.
Yeah, because I've you know, I've gone into the you know, obviously there's the fight flight response, and I would have run for the hills before, but now I understand that this is not that response is not me now. That's my inner child. So I'll go, you're right, let this adult deal with this situation. And
you can do it anyway, can't you? And go, look, darling, we're a bit frightened, but we're all right. We've got this.
I'm not going to win.
And this is the thing. And once you start doing it, though, and you then have that evidence that you can look back on, can't you? So if you're in another situation where you're feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, you can go, hang on, actually, I did that interview with Julie the other week, and that was fine, and I felt really good. So just going and do this now is nothing. Yeah, absolutely. And things in your life, you can go back and go, well, I did that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right.
And it is stopping and thinking about what you have done. You know, it might be that I go, oh gosh, I looked a bit, you know, or you know, I stuttered on that, I stumbled on that. It really doesn't matter. It makes you human. And instead of focusing on the fact that, you know, whatever I did, you know, it's the fact that I did it, and all the positives that come from it.
Yeah. And when I get clients on here, and because obviously we upload the videos to different places and that afterwards, I always say to them, I don't edit it. We might edit the beginning and the end just so you haven't got like a, you know, you're pressing buttons and stuff. But we absolutely do not edit it, because A, it's a complete ball ache and it takes too long. And 2, it's not authentic, is it? If you edit it, I mess my words up all the time. I've got I stopped myself there. I was going to say something which I would tell my client. I was going to say, I've got crap vocabulary, right? But obviously I'm going to reframe that, and I'm going to say, do you know what? My vocabulary isn't huge and I mess words up, but that's me. I've never been any different.
And I think looking back, you know, when I look back at myself, I was playing small. I wasn't authentically me. I didn't know myself, but also I was trapped inside me. And I think now I will swear, I will say things that might make people cringe or think, oh God, you can't do that, Sam. You're like, well, actually I am.
Yeah.
Like, being authentically you is really good for your soul and your mind. I think suppressing that's really bad for your mental health.
Oh, it is.
Really bad for your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with you. And, you know, at the end of the day, right, this is where it boils down to is as long as you love who you are and you feel comfortable in your skin, you don't care what other people think. Because like we said earlier, normally it's their insecurities that they're having a dig at you about. Like if someone wants to be a troll on social media, that's just because they're not happy. They're not happy inside. So it's easier just to go and throw stones at other people. Isn't it?
Like, they're not pushing themselves, you know. People say to me, "You're so brave. I couldn't do it." You're like, well, you could. And I'm not any braver than anybody else. I might do, like I say.
But this is the thing, it's a choice, right? You and I have chosen to uncover what's going on beneath and work on ourselves. And as a result, I mean, I can't speak for you, I can only speak for myself. I have never been happier. Don't get me wrong, it's really challenging being a business owner and, you know, trying to keep yourself financially afloat, doing all the social media, keeping yourself trained and everything.
A lot to learn in the business element, especially in the digital world that, you know, our generation, it's all new, you know. And the messaging, I mean, even like I posted a reel, it was my first reel. I was very excited the other day and terrified. And I showed my daughter, she said, too long. It's too long, Mum. And you put the dog at the end. You should have put the dog at the beginning. I was like,
I always put the animals in.
I was just excited to do it. I just made it and I just did it and I didn't criticize myself. First thing was room for improvement. I took it as, you know, it's
but that's good, right? Because we want to learn, right? And at least you didn't say, oh God, Mum, that's so embarrassing, don't ever do that again.
I do warn her now. I say, I've just done a live and she'll go, I'm not looking.
It's funny in my house because
that's the main thing. It doesn't stop me doing it.
No, that's the thing. They'll all be on their phones in the house and then they'll go, oh, is that really annoying woman again? That's just as me doing a reel or doing something or an interview or something like that. Okay, make sure you like it.
Yeah, Ralph was playing something that I said last week, and I walked in, I could hear it. I was like, "Oh, turn that off!"
I said to my son's, well, one of them's in Australia, but the other one, he's like 24 now, and it's like, I've said to him like a few years ago, "What's it like when you see your mum on?" He went, "It was a bit embarrassing to start with," he said, "but you know, I'm used to it now." But you know,
none of it really matters at the end of it. It really is
not. You know, and when I started my business, right, I had Facebook that I barely used, like a few holiday snaps, pictures of the dog or something. I didn't even have Instagram, LinkedIn, literally just to get jobs because of my corporate career. That was it. I've never really been one to spend hours on it either. So it really felt, oh, do I have to? Yeah. And then, you know, now I've got YouTube, business, Facebook, business, LinkedIn, Instagram, and doing lives, doing interviews. It's like, what happened? You know?
And if you said to yourself back then, this will be you in the future, if you push yourself, you'd have gone absolutely nowhere.
Yeah. If I'd gone to a clairvoyant or whatever they're called, and they said, yeah, like 5 years ago or something, you're going to leave your job, and you just come away and go, what a load of old what a waste of money that was.
Yeah. And here you are. I know.
Here I am, and I'm not one to brag or anything, but you know, I'm a multi-award winner. I'm an international best-selling co-author. And I've got a book coming out as well soon. It's about my dearly departed Great Dane Luther. But it's really weird because he was my therapy dog, right? Like I said to you, I wasn't always doing this. But when I started doing it, he just decided that he was going to be part of it. I've got a dog in here at the moment, actually. Thankfully, she's being quiet. But this is Luther's sister. We're dog sitting her at the moment. But Luther was such an amazing dog. He's a Great Dane, but he was big, and he commanded an audience wherever he went, right? And when he died, the day after, I'd never really experienced this before, but I got a very clear message. It says, Julie, you've got to write a book. And it's about Luther's life, how he impacted other people, because he got people over fears of dogs and all sorts, right? But he was there for my clients. And then I just had this image of, and it said, right, and it flashed up like this in my head. And it's with all different stories of other people's stories about Luther. So, so that was that, right? And then, so I've got someone who's helped
Luther through other people's eyes, basically.
Yeah. So all their stories, but then it was also about how other dogs have impacted people's lives. So I've got in the book, it's going to have people have written stories about their dogs and how they impacted lives. But there was a part of it, and I was like, okay, this is really good, but there was something not quite, okay, it's great, but you know, who's going to buy it or whatever. But after he died, I took it really, really badly, and my business really suffered, because I went from starting to get clients coming in, and then I got 0 clients because my vibration had gone, and I started to muck about with my niche as well and everything else, right? But what happened was, because I was always living in my head, I tried to meditate, but I wasn't very good at it, and my mind would never shut up, and I didn't really take time out for myself. Did a bit of exercise, but that was about as far as it went. And in my therapy, one of my clients actually registered a star for him. So I've got a star in the name of Luther, everything up there. And in one of my therapy classes, we always do like embodiment and grounding. And one of the things they were saying, and they said this a lot, but for some reason, you know, like sometimes you hear something many times, but it takes that one time for it to click.
Yeah.
And they were like, imagine that it was like, imagine you've got this beam of light going up, go and find your favorite star. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I've got Luther star. And from that moment, I connected to Luther in the sky. And then from then on, and from then on, I've been able to connect to my body. And that's where the book's going now. It's how Luther impacted my life and other people's lives in his life, but how he's continued, because through how he's helping me to connect to myself, I can then teach my clients. So with my group program that I've got, which is Your Breakthrough from Stress, Lack of Confidence, Inner Peace and Clarity, I can teach them that too, that are you someone that can't get out of your head and you don't really understand the importance of self-care? And that's what I'm teaching them, going really back to basics and getting, you know, the idea being that I can help them to connect and with their body as well. So that's kind of going to be like the full story.
That's lovely. See, I wouldn't have understood any of what you said to me this time last year just then, but I kind of been on a bit of a spiritual journey over the last year, which I don't know how I ended up down that. Well, I actually do know, because I realized that when I'd left where the family, the marriage, and then I started going out at the weekends, and I thought there's got to be more than this. Like, it's not where I want to be. I love my friends, I love going out and getting your lip gloss on and getting out and about, but I thought I need to do more. And I started doing just little things. I thought I'd book a little paddleboarding class for myself on my own. I'm not doing anything with anyone this weekend. I've got a little list. And then I'll go out for dinner on my own. And then it was like paddleboarding. I thought, I'm going to go for a walk. And I found a charity called Black Dog Outdoors, and they do like mental health linked walks. So it's for people who struggle with anxiety, and a lot of it's up north. But I found one that was local to me, and I went on that. I thought that was really good. It was outside in nature. And then I went camping, and I thought with a group of women, and I thought, if I can go camping with them, I can go camping on my own. And then I went swimming, and then now I do all of these little things that I've collected over the years by stepping out. And I know now I could just go in my garage, get all my camping stuff, get in the car, and I think that led me to go into a festival. So I collected it all together. And it was like, I'm camping. I love going out and music. And it was not too far away. And I thought, I'm going to go to a festival on my own. And a lot of people were like, oh, I'll come with you. I'm free that weekend. I was like, want to go on my own. It was quite a spiritual festival, but I didn't go for that. I went because Groove Armada were playing, to be honest. And I went, and it was like a yoga festival. And I don't do yoga. I can't still my mind.
Oh, I love yoga.
Really, I'm trying. But I did breath work. I did sound bathing. I did all sorts of things that blew my mind, and I've carried those pieces with me. And now I meditate very short before I move in the morning. I sort of ground myself, and then I on that weekend I ended up on a stage burlesque dancing in my pants after no training with a bunch of burlesque women.
Wow.
What am I doing? But doing it anyway, because I think it helped. I was on my own, so I had nobody looking at me and saying, "Oh, what are you doing that shamanic drumming?"
Yeah. Oh, don't let's not bother doing that. Yeah. Oh, that's embarrassing. Yeah.
It was for me.
Oh, that's really great. You're braver than me.
People say all the time, but I just, sitting in cold tubs and hot tubs with people I'd never met before, and I loved it, and it just opens you up to. There's so many people out there that want to share anything with you. If they're passionate about things, they're like, come and do this and try this and explain this. I think there's more people who want to support and share than there are who judge and want to put you back down. To be honest, if you look for it, that it's all around. It's about finding your
exactly right. It's about hanging around the right type of people, isn't it? Hanging around. I mean, we met in a networking group. All those people in there are all business, or want to be a business owner, entrepreneurs, right? So you hang around with like-minded people, and then you don't get dragged down by them because you've all got the same aim. I've got that with my therapy group. Lots of different business groups, and that's what I wanted to do in my group program as well, was to get people together and build a community, because I think that's really important.
I think really important, and I think part of one of my struggles during my life as a military wife was I would go to the book club, or I would go to the toddler group, which everybody did and everybody does still, and a lot of people get a lot out of it. I found it made me feel even worse. So I was putting myself into situations which actually wasn't who I was. It wasn't authentically me, and it actually over the years eroded that and made me feel unwell. So I think it's about finding those people who uplift you and make you feel alive, and they're out there, whether you're a military wife or you're Susan down the road is just struggling to get through the day. You will find if you give yourself the time, sit down and think, what am I doing? Where am I going? What makes me happy? What makes me feel alive?
Exactly.
And that's a good place to start, I think.
Making that choice, using that word choice again, isn't it? Making a choice to make a change.
And again, it's a state of mind. It's not about, oh, I'm going to get that car because they've got that car, or it's not, I'm going to wear that suit because they. It's about authenticity and knowing yourself and being yourself. In my opinion.
I totally agree with you, my lovely. But anyway, as much as I'd love to carry on talking to you, darling, we do need to wrap this up, which is a shame, but I've loved it. So before we go, do you want to just do a little bit of a shout out if you want to promote your business, you're more than welcome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So obviously I'm a life coach. My knowledge and skills lie with middle-aged women struggling through identity, regenerating themselves, with a predominant focus on military wives, because that's what I've lived and I understand how it can feel. I've got 4-week courses, 8-week courses. I've got one-to-ones with people. So just to help people thrive in whatever circumstances that they find themselves. So yeah.
Lovely, well done. And likewise, if anyone wants to come and work with me, my niche at the moment really is anyone who's feeling stressed, lacking in confidence, and you really want to get your mojo back. And I've got an amazing 12-week program that I've got running now, which is that group community too, and we do hypnosis in it as well. So we're not just consciously talking about all this stuff, we're actually going deep diving and changing things permanently from your beautiful subconscious mind too.
And I recommend that process. It's fabulous.
Oh, thanks, darling. And it's good because we didn't
trust the process with it, don't you? And I think if you buy into it, trust it, it does
absolutely. Yeah. So this video will go up on my YouTube channel, Millieside Therapy and Coaching, and up there you will see many other videos as well, client videos and client interviews too. So thank you for watching. If you do watch this, please like it and share it. And if there's anyone else you think would be interested, then do make them aware. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another amazing guest on my Become Unstoppable series. Thank you for now. Bye.